Good evening and welcome back to the We Are Rise Show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing on this glorious Monday? It's good to see everybody out there. A lot of stuff going on this evening. Tonight's show, you are here for the fog of war, the agitprop. Is Iran utilizing domestic awareness to test their subterfuge on us? Obviously they are. There's other things that we'll get into tonight. Tucker's reverse penance. Did you see him? He was being interviewed by New York Times, and what a hoot that was. Man, we're going to discuss that. A lot of stuff, the theater that was, let's just say, pushed into that realm. Threats, promises, and lawsuits all over the place. Candace Owens, Laura Loomer, Larry Loomer, a lot of different things, a lot of promises, a lot of threats. We also had an update tonight. There was an actual Secret Service shooting, breaking. An armed man opened fire in the vicinity of J.D. Vance's motorcade near the White House. The man opened fire in Secret Service. United States Secret Service fired back, taking the shooter down. And we'll cover that. But apparently this just happened, Marshall, not too long ago. And the reporters were rushed inside, and then they were moved back out. Seems like the rhetoric just keeps popping off. People can't stop. They can't stop running their mouth about making death threats, about pushing the narrative. Someone's going to get shot and killed, okay? Maybe not the people you want, but these people running around shooting and then shooting their mouths off. Let me tell you right now, the minority leader, yes, minority, hence the name, capital M, minority leader, should shut his mouth. Can he impeach him? I don't know. I don't know what the House can do to remove him. But we are at a point, an all-time high, that the rhetoric is now reaching Blazing Saddles funny. No, it's not funny. It's not. You know, the idea that this whole White House Correspondents' Dinner was staged and it was fake, not by us, not by Trump. And then we'll get into the judge apologizing to Cole. I'm sorry, Mr. Mathis, sir, that you had to be in this dark jail and you had to face all these things. If he had it their way, he would be out of jail doing the shit again. I have no pause today about how I feel about the angst and the fervor that's going on. It's either them or us. We better take note of it, Marshall.
Yeah, the shooting happened right when Trump was doing his thing with the business forum that he had today, which I watched.
Yeah,
it happened right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't interrupt it though. They didn't. It didn't appear that way.
It was outside.
It was in the East Room. I think it was in the East Room.
Yeah, but
right. Yeah. The shooting was outside. Right.
Yeah. Vance was going around, so this guy was shooting at the motorcade. Apparently, that's what we're told. We don't know if he hit the motorcade or he was put down before the motorcade was hit. Okay? So we don't know if the motorcade was hit in any way. We don't know if the shooter pulled out the gun and someone saw him and they put him down already. Did they say, drop your weapon, or they just return fire or open fire? Again, we don't know. This is serious stuff. This happened with J.D. Vance. So, again, we'll probably find more updates later on this evening or tomorrow. Hopefully we can get an update on this. I don't like this one bit at all. I don't like it. It's now starting to get really, I think, in your face. You're starting to see the reaction about all this hate and violence that's just brewing. It's brimming. It's through the roof. It's percolating all over the place. Okay? People can't contain themselves. They are out of control. And I am very, very cautiously optimistic about how I feel that someone is not going to get hurt in this process. It's out of control, and this has to stop. It has to stop. Someone has to bring this rhetoric down, and I can tell you right now, no one on the left is doing it. In fact, all they're doing is still saying Nazi this, Nazi that, Trump's the problem. Again, they continue this on. We're the problem. We're this, we're that. Arm yourself up. Get ready. Because you know what? It's either you or them. I am sick of this shit. And you know what? We'll probably see more Secret Service shootings. We'll see more retaliation in a lot of ways. They might not be hesitating anymore. You know? So welcome in pill.net. How you doing out there? What's going on over here on YouTube? Please share and subscribe. You know what to do over there. What's up, Linda Perino? There's a Bradley 654. What's up? James, how you doing? Yep, I'm doing okay. How you doing? Nod Dog, True Terran, Blue Pavilion Man. What's up? What's going on over here on Rumble? Curious Cat, thank you for the cookie. Good evening. Thea, thank you for the 700 gold pills. Damn, what is up with pill? It took me 27 tries to get on tonight. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if there's a problem. I don't know if there's a problem getting pills or donating pills or if it working at all. Would you say thank you for the 217 gold pills? Hello, Trump one. How you doing? Who else is here? Sausage Launcher. How you doing? Good evening this evening. Hello, Mom. Welcome in. Good to see everybody out there. Alphabet Omega Pill. Hello. Welcome everybody out there. Let's continue on. I got more.
I think they do need to arrest some people for rhetoric. There's got to be something they can find that they can,
Well, we're going to cover James Comey briefly. We're going to cover about what the acting AG said. I think ultimately when you consider how this is really playing out, I mean, acting AG, well, I'll get to it, but he did say on Sunday that, look, this is more about the seashells and 8647, which people are making a mockery. It was a message, okay, to the sleeper cells out there. That's why he said there's so much more of his phone and where he put this out. All right. They have the phone. They have the information, the data from that. All right. All the backstop, whatever he was using, whether it was a burner or not, that he was what? Helping facilitate, and it's not a false flag. He's talking red flag attacks. He's talking about real attacks, not stage attacks. He was calling out all the sleeper cells. And this is what we'll probably see what the indictment was about. But I want to get to tonight's show because you're here for the fog of war. I think this is important. Everything is kind of like, in some way, we have another narrative flip, which is every 48 hours. And I think people are starting to, get, let's just say, uncomfortable with the acceleration of how this war is going in some way. The conflict, the propaganda battles, the story that keeps on changing, the friction of the unknowns. These are the things that are all over the place that I think people are being tested. All right. They're not really sure about this. They're complaining about gas. But I have to tell you right now, gas was higher from 21 to 24 on an average. And then you put inflation in. We've only seen this now differently because the global crude oil, let's just say, that is in demand. This is around the world. All right. You have refinery issues. That's obviously what's going on. You have geopolitics that are driving speculation. All right. Up and down. You can see it goes up to 120. Now it's down to 100. Now it's at 105. And hedging bets for long and short-term pricing. All right. The daily interviews that are going on for today and in the future that continue on. So, again, we're all brought into this, let's just say this unreality, I'll say, or just this mere appearance of a reality that we're faced with. But, a lot of people, as President Trump was saying today, they thought it was going to be $300 a barrel. And it's what? It's 105. All right. You have to consider inflationary areas. No, it's taxing. It's state by state. And it's how it's being presented here. People are just driving up the prices. And I believe it's more about price gouging across the place. And I don't know why we haven't had the AG of states go statewide, go through this and trim the fat off this top. I don't know if they can or will or willing to, or why isn't the acting AG? I know he's got a lot on his plate, but there is a lot of price gouging. And yes, and it's from the oil and gas industry. It's all for the hedge funders that sit on top of this. So yes, of course, there's going to be high gas. Yeah, I mean, by me, it's $4.99. It's fucking high. I'm not gonna deny it. I'm not gonna sit here and clap like a seal. It's like it's okay. It's not okay. Is it President Trump's fault? No, it's not. But if you look at how the sweet crude is about 105, it should not be $4.99. Some places $5 in the state of Florida. It's ridiculous. It's by each, and I can go from Wawa to ExxonMobil to Sunoco to BP to all these different Costco, and it's all different. There's no some fine line of resolution that everybody is, all on the same page. It's not. And so how do you go from one gas station to the next in the same city, all right, and see different gas prices and say that's just not overcompensating, okay, for your small PP? That's what it is. They're basically gouging you. You know it and I know it. And it's bullshit. But to say it's all Trump's fault because of the global demand, maybe if NATO wanted to help out, maybe if they wanted to get their hands dirty, okay, because it affects them, because they're going to run out of jet fuel. Maybe if they wanted to get involved and do this. No, it's all us. And here comes from Chris Rollins, the power audit. Trump just announced Project Freedom. This came out Sunday night, beginning Monday morning, Middle East time. We are nearing the climax. Ooh. If in any way the humanitarian process is interfered with, that the interference will be, unfortunately, have to be dealt with forcefully. Here we go. And shots were popping off last night and today. The UAE is accusing Iran of what? Shooting off missiles. Parse this carefully. He's sending U.S. warships to escort neutral commercial vessels out of the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran challenges the escort, he has his trigger. If Iran lets them pass, the blockade is broken and Iran is humiliated. Is that what it all takes? 35 tankers have taken off from Tel Aviv today. Saturday's total was 14. The evidence package for this move was built today by Iranian Moves. UK MTO warning 050-26. That's 1130 UTC. RIGCN. Small craft attacked a northbound bulk carrier 11 north miles west of Surik, Iran. Cruise safe. UMTKO advisory. Vessels at the Ras Akamah directed via VHF broadcast to vacate anchorage. Confirmed by multiple ship masters. All right, so he puts there and stuff. Hormuz on something which they are absolutely nothing to do. They are merely neutral and innocent bystanders for the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States. We have told these countries we will guide their ships safely out of the restricted waterways so they can freely and ably get on with their business. These are the ships from the areas of the world that are not in any way involved. And with that, which is currently taking place in the Middle East, I've told my representatives to inform them that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. In all cases, they said they will not be returning until the area becomes safe for navigation and everything else. This process, Project Freedom, will begin Monday morning, Middle East time. I'm fully aware that my representatives are having very positive discussions with the country of Iran and that these discussions could lead to something very positive. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are the victims of a circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the United States, Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. Remembering these ships are running low on fuel, on food, and everything else necessary for a large-scale crew to stay on board in a healthy, sanitary manner. Good, excellent point. I got more to this to go. Let me drop this and say this because I think you have to consider what is taking place. All right, he's basically suggesting in a lot of different ways, this is how it's going to play out. Either you let this pass, you let this happen, all right, or we're going to hit you even more. Or we're going to hit you as we move through the strait. Something else is going to take place. Now, there's a lot of, they're wag the dog, pointing their finger and stuff. I don't know if President Trump is really willing to go the next level. I think that we have to consider is that we'll do everything we can to protect these ships. And I think a lot of this stuff is all theater. It's not necessarily, even though the UAE has recorded that they were being attacked today, ships were being attacked, drones were attacking them. So again, we don't know what's really happening. But again, it ratchets it up, the theater. It ratchets it up the pulse of everybody wondering what the hell is going on. I thought we had this under control. This comes from Sky News. This is a good point, and let me show you this. The Middle East war latest, so everybody understands what's happening. The Middle East war latest, Iran warns Trump over the Strait of Hormuz. The key points, let me blow this up, because there's been a lot of stuff that's going back and forth, but we're not really sure if it's between the UAE and Iran alone or the United States. Now, today, I saw a lot of people talking about the subterfuge that Iran hit a carrier, okay, and sank a ship. That is absolutely not true. There is no evidence to suggest that one way, and they're pushing this narrative out. That's why this friction is drawing up. They're trying to save face. Whatever face they're trying to save, they're putting on a good one, but it ain't working. And they're trying to suck people in from the American media, and for people on X or all these other social media platforms to convince you we're losing the war. It is far from the truth. All right. What you need to understand is that this war is not just over. Okay. It's about giving them an opportunity to tuck tail in a graceful manner and ultimately surrender the uranium one transference of this dust or powder or wherever this plutonium or whatever it came from back to us, so we can showcase that this was part of a treasonous effort to supply them on the part of elements inside our government, all right, to continue on with this narrative. Iran warns Trump over Project Freedom. Iran fires 2 missiles at U.S. warship, the Strait of Hormuz. That's where some of that agitprop was coming from. But U.S. denies report and says it was freeing up ships. U.S. Navy destroyers cross key waterways despite Iran warning. UAE intercepts Iranian missiles. Analysts, Trump challenge of Iran stranglehold is a sign of frustration. See? The sound of the war from the Israeli-Lebanon border. We don't know if that's going to ratchet up. So here it is. Starmer condemns the attack on UAE and calls for an end to the escalation conflict. So this is inviting them to bring on more of this stuff, but you understand who Iran is. All right, Sir Comer has condemned the drone and missile attacks on the UAE from the country defense ministry and said it's been targeted by Iranian attack on money. In a statement, the prime minister also called for an end to the escalation in the Middle East conflict, urging Iran to engage meaningfully in negotiations. We stand in solidarity. You know, I find it interesting that you hear Keir Starmer talk about this, but yet it's the Bank of London. It's all the banksters in general. It's the people, the proxies that Iran is, that they're speaking from, and they're talking in this manner. I find it comical. This escalation must cease. Iran needs to engage meaningfully in negotiations to ensure the ceasefire. All this is basically saying is that we're not going away. So when Keir Starmer's speaking, all right, their proxy control group, their apparatus, Iran, is basically, it's like a ventriloquist, okay? Iran's the dummy, and the UK is, or the Bank of London is talking, putting words in their mouth, and they're speaking. That's how you can look at this. That's how you have to see this. No military solution to a political crisis, says Iranian foreign minister. Iran's foreign minister has said the events of the Strait of Hormuz shows there's no military solution to a political crisis. So I say to you, do you really think in some way that this is going to be over anytime soon, or how much further will this continue on? I got more to go, Marshall. You're muted.
I think we're about to turn the corner on it, I believe.
Okay, and how so?
You know, because, well, from the way Trump is acting, the way he's talking, you know, he's done with it. He wants it over too. We can't have this shit go on, and he knows this. We cannot have it go on up to mid-June when the school's let out, because you're fucking up bad if that happens. That can't happen. I don't think he wants it to. I think he's going to do what they can to. And also, you know, the troops in Iran are not getting paid. So there's a point where they're going to just say, you know what, we're not going to do this. So, you know, and the gas part, the prices, you can't really blame the individual gas stations. They make very little money on gas. They make the money on the shit they sell in their stores, like the vapes and the food and all that other crap.
No, it's true, but when you consider that each gas station is different based upon the pricing, okay, then you can look at it as gouging, okay?
Suppliers.
Yes, the suppliers, the distributors. I mean, that you could consider food prices and everything else that is, you know, qualitatively gone up since this war. It's because of the distribution and the travel to get the gas, to get the items there. That is food, i.e. water, what have you, you name it. All right. So unfortunately, we're stuck in this predicament. But I think in some way, when you look at it, it's not necessarily it's going to be phased out overnight. I think what it is that you're showing how long he's really, let's just say, able to continue this on so they can bleed a little bit more, so they can squeeze a little more. And that's what he wants. He wants them. I mean, they still haven't said uncle. He'll let us know. So again, behind the scenes, we don't really know what's going on. We just hear how the media is recording this how we see this U.S. troops encountered 6 Iranian boats, eliminating them all quickly. So we're doing the same thing we did in Venezuela, just eliminating all the boats that were attacking the small ships. Ceasefire agreements don't carry much weight. When one of the parties negotiating, it's a terror-sponsoring state bent on destroying Israel and the United States, if it's not the entire West. Think about, and I'll cover it a little bit today, think about what's going on with the EU. The EU has reneged on the deal that was signed, okay, the tariff deals. So President Trump says we're raising it to 25%. And even though they have a contractual agreement, you can't trust the EU. You can't trust their proxies like Iran, which are their proxies in some way. When you think about who the proxies are, it's the EU cabal. It's the people, the Bank of London, all the cabalists, the banksters in general. These are the people that profit off this what? And so the fact that Iran has gotten away for how many years, for decades, for charging admission, all right, to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, okay, for blackmailing all these people to say, look, you got to pay a toll, okay? It's like a toll to Hades. You got to give that, what, silver coin, all right? You got to give that up. And they do this all the time. So now we're putting an end to it, and they don't like it. This is their last manifestation of how much money they'll be able to, let's just say, hold on to power before it comes to an end. That's why it wasn't all shocking to see Iran send out a group of vessels, apparently interfere in Trump administration, nascent Project Freedom, which seeks to guide ships through the contentious Strait of Hormuz. But U.S. Central Command made it clear that the threat wasn't taken lightly. CENTCOM Admiral Brad Cooper said on the call that Iran historically has deployed between 20 and 40 small boats when harassing vessels in the Strait. Today, we just saw 6 and eliminated them quickly. We have an enormous amount of capability and firepower concentrated in the Strait, including 864 Apache MH-60 Seahawk helicopters that were used this morning to eliminate 6 Iranian boats, threatening commercial shipping. The United States launches the Project Freedom in the middle of this. Let me show you. Let me see if I have any of the stuff I can put up there on X right now. So the United States launches Project Freedom. Let's hear a little bit of this.
The president calls it a humanitarian effort to safely guide some 800 cargo ships and tankers and their 20,000 crew members safely out of the Strait of Hormuz. The president says these stranded ships are running out of food and supplies and are merely neutral bystanders in this whole thing. In a very lengthy Truth Social post, President Trump went on to say, for the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we've told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the U.S., Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. The president warned Iran that any interference with this humanitarian mission will be, quote, dealt with forcefully. CENTCOM says guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, and 15,000 service members are supporting this mission. Project Freedom is described as a coordination and information sharing effort to help guide these ships safely through the Strait of Hormuz. The Wall Street Journal reports U.S. Navy ships will not be escorting ships through the strait. The head of Iran's parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee is, quote, warning any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. The UK military says the U.S. has now established an enhanced security area for ships via Oman's territorial waters south of where traffic usually transits in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK warns that the security level, though, remains critical in the strait. Yesterday, an oil tanker was attacked, hit by unknown projectiles north of the UAE. And just before that, a cargo ship was attacked by multiple small boats near the coast of Iran.
Okay, I'll get out of that. So you have to consider is that this is still a tenuous situation, but you think in some way, what's going on here? Are they just playing games? What are we not seeing here? Why is this, being ratcheted up in this way? Why is this continuing on? I thought this was a done deal. I thought we were told this is over, and we're just playing games here. This is playing grab ass. All right. So Project Freedom. So we're not really moving ships in and escorting them in, commercial ships. We're just helping make sure that the navigation of the rights of these ships are honored respectfully, and we will monitor any of these gunboats that are out there that want to seize any of these ships out there that are not part of this. Is this just theatrical planning in some way? Are they just why are we just sitting back and saying, why don't we just blow the shit out of them? I mean, what are we trying to do? All right. Is this how we negotiate? Are we really trying to strangle them economically? Well, it seems so, because we could easily just wipe them off the face of the planet. And if we did so, we probably wouldn't get the nuclear dust back to prove the point of what's going on in some way, unless we already did get it back. And all this stuff is what? Nothing. It's all blather. It's all bullshit. All right. So that's why people don't want to cover this. They don't believe any of this stuff. And plus, you don't want to, in some way, increase the hostilities to ratchet up. All right. So the speculators that are out there increase. So it doesn't go up to $200 a gallon, $200 the crude sweet oil trading at. So I guess in some way they're playing the game. They're watching how this is being managed out, and we're sitting here. No new war powers clock starts because the U.S. didn't initiate hostilities. Iran did. So that's the other thing you got to consider. You know, when you had Secretary Pete Hegseth last week come to the Senate, came to the House, he sent a letter to Grassley, sent a letter to the Speaker Johnson saying, hey, look, this is what's going on. All these operations are done. We're going to go through this economically, but we're going to make sure we're not going to hit Iran. Okay. Not just yet until they what? Give up or surrender. Or maybe they want to put out their gunboats, their ships, and do something like that. So we are now in the stranglehold, the economic phase of crushing them in some way. So I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to go, but if you look at this, Breitbart puts this out, and you have to consider now what we're doing here. I'm trying to understand how this is going to play out, because how much further are we going to continue on? Iran claims 2 missile strikes on U.S. warships. CENTCOM denies. All right, so now this type of again, propaganda that's being thrown out there. Central Command CENTCOM, the U.S. military formation responsible for operations in the Middle East, moved to dispel a claim that Iran had landed a blow on one of its warships on Monday morning. The unequivocal response by CENTCOM noted the assertion of a successful attack on a U.S. warship and stated no U.S. Navy ships have been struck. All right, so there's been a lot of podcast shows, a lot of stuff covering like that. Did they get hit? What were they hit in some way? And they saw how the rebuke by CENTCOM putting this out, refuting all this stuff. On Monday morning, Iran's Fars New agency, the media closely associated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, reported 2 missiles have struck a U.S. Navy frigate in the region waters that caused the ship to turn back and flee the area. Iran claimed the ship was off the port of Jask in the Gulf of Oman at the time of their attack and had been on a course to attempt the transit of the Strait of Hormuz, and that the attack had been launched after ignoring Iranian warnings. President Trump announced Project Freedom, a humanitarian mission in some way to help merchant ships move through the Strait of Hormuz. The denial of this strike is just the latest message from CENTCOM since the commencement of the Operation Epic Fury in February. I have to tell you right now, there's no evidence to do that. I was scouring everything to find if there was. All right. Admiral Bradley comes out and says he took a flight over the region near the Strait of Hormuz in the AH-64 Apache helicopter gunship, visiting sails aboard the DDG-69 U.S. Milas aboard the Tripoli. All right, so look, there's no evidence to suggest this. So they're just putting this out there to frighten us, actually change the markets, to halt the markets, to affect the markets. And I think ultimately this is what it's all about, Marshall. I think that what they're trying to do is they know in some way we can hold on a lot longer to stranglehold them in an economic collapse, which they are. All right, but they're also trying to use certain media outlets in some way to portray that we lost ships, that we've taken a hit in some way, and that we're backing off or retreating. And also, I think it's considerably possible that they're trying to, let's just say, strategically draw us in. Why not go into the Strait of Hormuz, all right, and just destroy everything in the area so these ships can pass through? Well, you don't know how dug in these missiles are or these bases. We don't know if all the ships. I mean, I'm sure that we have satellite visuals of all this stuff. But, if they're underground bunkers outside these areas that we can't hit, why do you want to take the chance of passing a ship through there that could be hit? And I think that's key. You don't want a frigate. You don't want a battleship. You don't want something big enough small enough that could be hit and easily taken out. And I think that's more logical. I mean, I'm sure there's probably subs in there. There's probably a lot of other things that are undetectable that they're trying to get through and take out these areas. I mean, they're having a lot of. I guess they were saying Apaches, Blackhawks, a bunch of other Warthogs. They had a number of ships out there doing the business they needed to do, but it just seems for the life of me, I don't understand. Okay, why is this taking so long? I mean, if we have the upper hand and we're just now sitting back and letting them be what? Die by their own, basically drowning on their own oil production, meaning they can't take it from their facilities. It's over being produced. They can't put it on a cargo. They can't ship it out. They can't make it money. So what are they to do? And every ship that, that either passes out of the port from them or Iran or goes in there will be blocked, will be boarded. So what are we to do? What is this? How long is it going to continue on? And you're right, Marshall. I think that this has to end before May. It has to end.
Well, June, you mean?
Well, I'm thinking the end of May.
Well, it's May. Yeah, right.
The end of May.
And you know what you mentioned there about the claiming that they hit a frigate or whatever it was with a couple of rockets.
Right.
That's exactly right what you said about the fact that that will affect the market, the media.
Sweet crude oil.
The media will put it out. That helps them in a financial way because it changes the numbers a little bit, which gives them a little padding for a little bit, for a few weeks or whatever, so that they can maybe pay their troops if they can, but it does help them in that way. And Trump is at this point, I think he's just waiting for them to die on the vine.
Yeah.
And they're practically probably already there, hopefully sooner than later. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I know, Hogleg. They're squeezing them. Good to see everybody out there. Hogleg, thank you for the can. The cookie Dorlell for the can. Good evening, gentlemen. Hello, chat family. Hold the line. Keep your head on the swivel. Thinking about it get bumpy. Yeah, it's already bumpy. It's bumpy in a lot of ways because a lot of people are getting tired of a lot of stuff they're seeing. There are people that are getting tired of this conflict because of the pricing. Again, it's not President Trump. It's the global market. It's how these things are. But how people internalize this, they're just tired of a lot of things. They're wondering when more arrests are going to happen. There are people that are frustrated across the board with a lot of things. Curious Cat, thank you for the cookie. Good evening. Thank you, Thea, for the 700 gold pills. I appreciate it. What's up, MG615? Hello, Stun Gun. What's going on? Yep. All right, let's continue on. Observing Consciousness put this out. This is the kind of signal that only makes sense when you zoom out and watch the system move as a whole. What you're hearing from Scott Bessent is not just a supply update. It is a structural unwind of the cartel pricing mechanism that has anchored global energy for decades. This is what we're talking about. This is the point. This is how they have control. The mention of 8 to 10 million barrel deficit tied to the Strait of Hormuz sets the stage. Then he immediately pivots to surplus. That shift is key. When you move from a constrained flow to a wash in oil, you are watching scarcity pricing lose its grip. The release valve is opening from multiple directions at once. The United Arab Emirates stepping outside the coordinated quota behavior of OPEC, increasing output, and the United States pushing the record production all stack into the same outcome. Supply stops being managed and starts being unleashed. That is how a cartel begins to lose control without needing a formal collapse announcement. Thus, we're leading up to this point. Now layer in my broader mapping to the old pricing power sat inside a triangle that heavily favored legacy financial and maritime influence tied to the City of London. You see that influence depends on controlled flows, predictable quotas, and disciplined producers. When nations begin acting in their own production interests, forming direct bilateral corridors and ignoring quota discipline, the gravitational center weakens. The UAE moves become a template, not an exception. Others see the upside of a sovereign production and a direct trade lanes and begin to test the same path. The moment supply floods beyond coordinated control, pricing authority fragments. That is where Britain's leverage through legacy financial channels starts to thin out because the system intermediates is no longer centralized. What looks like a temporary surge in oil is actually a transition phase where the cartel discipline gives way to the sovereign flow. And once that shift takes hold, more producers step out of the alignment and the entire structure begins to decentralize in plain sight. Watch as prices start dropping simply and demand formula. Okay, let's listen to Scott Pacent.
Is on the way. You have it in mind.
Help is on the way as of today. The way to think about it is the market, because of the conflict around the strait, is in deficit about 10 million barrels a day, between 8 and 10 million barrels a day right now. So every crude carrier that goes through has about 2 million barrels. So 4 or 5 crude carriers a day coming through of the pent-up demand. We think there are more than 150, 200 crude carriers that can come out. So I think the market's going to be very well supplied. The other thing, too, is I am confident on the other side of this, the world's going to be awash in oil. That the UAE has come out of OPEC. They're going to be pumping more. OPEC just announced they're going to be pumping more, and the U.S. has record crude deliveries. We are the #1 energy superpower in the world, and we have never delivered so much crude.
Would you say to the American consumer
I like Pacent too, and I think he really gives a good illustration of how this is going to play out. I really do. We're close. We're close, and I think that when he's out there, he's basically putting his hand on the scale, giving some type of immediate temperance to people. Some, comfortability about how this is going to play out, where this is going to go in some way. Blue to Villy Man says, Marshall, lower your gain on your sound. That's what he told me. I don't know.
Lower the what?
Your gain on your sound.
What? The volume?
The gain, yeah. Okay. So let me continue on. But yeah, I mean, look, overall, Scott Pacent is basically saying it's going to be a certain amount of, let's just say, there's going to be a period of time that once this elaborate economic structural squeeze basically gets flipped over back onto more of a neutral ground, okay, for all of us, not a controlled cartel, as what Observing Consciousness is saying, is that we'll have an opportunity to see the prices come down. I believe they will come down, okay, and they'll probably come down greater than they ever been. Remember, between 2021 and 2024, the pricing before President Trump came in was at the highest peak before it was ever. And it got to that $4 in 2023, $4.40. Okay. The only reason that we're here at this moment is because of the fact is the interruption of what's happening. We have to go through this manifestation in order to what? Change. And it is a hiccup. It is a temporary hiccup. But you know what? Do you want the short-term pain for the long-term gain? Is that what you want? It's possible. I mean, I see it. I think we have to be patient. And I think that the problem is that a lot of people don't want to cover this. They don't want to go through the machinations of discussing where we are and postulating posit theories that how this is going to take place. But if this is already done, it's just when are we going to see the results of this concluding act?
Yeah, and I just want to say, anybody that let me know in the chat if my volume is right. There's a new headset. Thanks, Brett. Brett got them for me, and just let me know. So I'll stop there. Go ahead, Brett.
All right. So here, this came out from Yahoo's. We're going to move on to fact check. President Trump did post a Uno meme saying, "I have all the cards, a losing hand in that game." It's an interesting thing because the media had discussed this. There was discussion saying that he did not put this out, losing Uno. And I think funny that this came out. The key takeaways: President Trump posted a meme on Truth Social showing him 6 Uno wild cards, a game where players aim to get rid of the card. So did President Trump really post the meme saying this? Yes, he did last week. I have all the cards in which he's holding a hand of Uno cards, a game in which the goal is to get rid of your cards as quickly as possible. Yes, that's true. Trump posted the meme showing him with 6 Uno wild cards to Truth Social on May 1st. Uno players score points by getting rid of all their cards fast as possible while trying to make sure the other players have lots of cards in their hands. So could that mean in some way he wants the glut of all the oil to come back onto Iran? All right. So they can't offload it. They can't do anything about it. And they'll be forced into a situation they'll have to surrender and also to what? Flip that script on that because they're going to lose money left and right. And once that oil cannot be what? Taken out, cannot be easily refined, then what happens to the oil? Trump posted a meme on Truth Social and says, on May 1st, 2026, it showed him hold 6 wild cards. This is what the image in the post looked like. All right. So there was a whole a discussion about this because of what President Trump talks about when he has the Trump card. The website Uno Rules explains the win condition from the Mattel game. Listen to this. This is interesting. Scoring and winning when a player no longer has any cards, the game ends. He or she receives points. All opponents' cards are given to the winner, and the points are counted. This also applies even if the last card is an action card, such as a draw 2 or a wild draw 4. I don't know. I don't play Uno, so I don't know. The next player must draw the required cards, in which then he'll be tallied up. The first player to attain 500 points is the winner. The scoring cards for this is follow: 0 to 9 face value. Draw 2, skip 1, 20 points. Wild draw, 50 points. Wild swap hands, 40 points each. If Trump was holding the cards shown in the picture, when another player got rid of their card, the player would then score 300 points, putting the player halfway over to victory. Interesting. I'm just trying to understand, what is the fascination about them trying to put this out? Are they trying to undercut what he's saying in some way? Look at this. Uno players score 500 points, getting rid of their cards. So if Trump was holding the Uno cards as shown in the meme, when another player got rid of their last card, the player would score 300 points, putting them halfway over to victory. What's your thoughts about this? I don't know anything about Uno. I really don't. I don't know how to play the game. I know of the game. I don't know anything about it. But in some way, it seems odd that they would put this story out to fact check this in some way. I have all the cards, a losing hand in the game. But they're also saying that in some way that President Trump is presenting cards for the winner of the game to give them an opportunity to win the game or get close to winning the game. And so they're saying he's holding cards up in some way as a surrender for us. They're actually mocking him. And they're just trying to say in some way, what does this really mean? So losing Uno, you see that just because it's trending doesn't mean it's true. But the fact is that they were attacking this in some way, trying to break this down to suggest in some way he's giving the cards to them or somebody else and not really focusing on what the cards mean in the play of the game at the moment. I don't know. I saw this. I thought I was trying to be reactionary to it. I'm not really sure what they were trying to sell here in some way. But it seems to me in some way they messed this up completely or royally in some way. But the first player to attain 500 points is a winner, Marshall. I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd thing I saw, and I wanted to post that up there. Is this in regards to Iran? What is this in regards to? What is he saying? If he holds all the cards up, and yet the 300 points of those cards, okay, that he's holding up is in favor of what? The opponent. And all those cards are wild cards. Is he giving them opportunity to win? What is he saying? What is he suggesting? What is the article really trying to put out there? Because I was completely confused.
Well, we played this as a kid. I forget the exact details on it. I do remember that you did want to get rid of all your cards.
Isn't it like gin rummy?
I've never played that, but I remember us playing it as a kid.
Right.
But to me, what this is classic Trump. He's trying to draw a reaction. He's trying to get one of the things he's doing is he's drawing a reaction. He could be also saying, he says, I have all the cards. He's holding the cards up basically in your face like this. And he's like that. So is he saying these are your cards? I mean, so, but I think the bigger thing, he wants a reaction. He wants to see who says what. And it's also, I think he's trolling in a way too.
Yeah, I think so.
He likes
and I think
to do that.
The Yahoo News and the way the article is that Uno is the object is to get rid of all the cards.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, but he's saying he holds all the cards that they need. That's what the article is insinuating. Okay, or they're saying is that they're all wild cards, and those cards are the ones that they need. But he's holding them up, and they're mocking him and saying, no, those cards are not the ones you need. Those are your losing hand. I believe that's what the article was suggesting in some way, and they were mocking this in a manner. I didn't understand how they were going with this in some way. At one point, I thought that the article was more about the meme per se, and they were mocking his meme, saying he doesn't know how to play the game. And I think that was one logical conclusion I was taking away from it. Another one is suggesting is that if he really had wild cards, okay, that are up there, and then he holds all the cards for them, who is them and what are they for? I think that was the other interesting thing. All right, moving on. because we got to get the bigger stuff. So Tucker's reverse penance. I think this was, over the weekend, New York Times clowns Tucker Carlson with his own words. Let me just say this right now. There are a lot of discussions about why he had this with the New York Times. The New York Times is no friend of President Trump, but they brought Tucker on to ask him questions. It seems to me, is this some type of atonement, an act of contrition? Is this regret? And who is this for? What is this for? It is some kind of what? Performance, some kind of ritual that he's forced to do as subterfuge? I mean, are these reparations of something wrong that he has committed, of a wrong that he's committed? And by who is making him show up into this clown ordeal? Some sort of reverse penance, self-immolation, so to speak, an oblation, self-sacrifice. All right. So the question will be, and I'm trying to understand, is this spiritual betrayal? Is this a memory hole denial that he's going to put forth? I'm just trying to say is because, and I'll get to the point. I thought he was doing excellent journalism, pushing boundaries, exploring previous off topics, finding the truth. But as he turned on President Trump, he's really lost something. He's just not the same guy. I tried to tune into a few shows and here and recently, but I can't even make it to the end, which brings us to our current story. The New York Times lady interviewing Tucker said he recently asked on a show whether Trump was the Antichrist, which he immediately denied ever saying, quite forcibly and strongly. Then he just played the clip and said exactly that word for word. And I'll show you right now. He did say that. So let's play this right here. And he denies him saying it. So here it is. New York Times you've been talking about. Let's play it.
Trump is the Antichrist.
I have not said that.
On your show, the day after Easter, you noted he did not put his hand on the Bible during his swearing-in ceremony as president. You said, and I'm quoting, maybe he didn't put his hand on the Bible because he affirmatively rejects what's inside that book. And then on a recent show, you went further saying, here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist?
I actually did not say, could this be the Antichrist? Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows? I don't know where that comes from, but I know that those words never left my lips because I'm not sure I fully understand what the Antichrist is. If there's just one, I actually tried to understand it. I may have said some are asking that. I'm not weighing in on that because I don't understand it.
Well, you just saw it. So is this a memory hole denial? Was this spiritual betrayal? Was he actually saying this or something else inside of him saying this? It's something else. It's kind of an awkward denial. And I think in some way you have to consider that. I mean, the reverse atonement, instead of repenting for past sins, you blame Trump, you blind Trump loyalty. He's publicly flagellating the golden calf. He once promoted, then trying to what? Walk it back. So he's all on the Trump train before that. And then for some reason, he's flogging and he's whipping and he's creating a self-doubt, self-punishment in some sort of religious sense. Is that what we're seeing? What are we trying to understand here? I got more to go, but let me go back to this in some way. Because look, if you follow Tucker Carlson at this point, you'll understand that there's something else going on. The interview then directly quotes him saying, the clip is here. He did say it. He did say it. Once Tucker says a lot of things. The guy is on air constantly doing 2 to 3 hour shows. There's no doubt he might have said something he forgets. But if that's the case, why defend it so vehemently? Why not just mix in some humility? Bad look, Tucker. Second, I would say I still like Tucker, or at least the memory of old Tucker. I just want to say directly to Tucker, pull it in, man. Come back to your senses. Write the course. Come back to who you used to be. We all like that guy. I'm not sure who this new guy is, but it seems hell-bent on attacking anyone. He's angry, grumpy, and I'll leave it at that. Marshall, your thoughts, because what I'm suggesting here in some way, he is being forced to go on, talk with the New York Times, who's the antithesis of anything of a Trump supporting group, okay? And so they're directly going at him and calling him out for his contradictions and his, let's just say, again, awkward denial. And the blind Trump loyalty he had before has now flipped into some type of flagellating the golden calf, so to speak, which basically he's flogging himself. He's self-emoldating himself. There's some self-punishment going on there. He's torturing himself in some way. Is this something being done ritualistically, beknownst to him? Is he out there to talk to the New York Times to basically ritually slaughter his name and embarrass himself in some flogging scenario? I mean, I'm trying to understand this. Why take this thing up with the New York Times? Okay, knowing full well they're going to call you out for the things you said that in some way that are memory hold, but you can't seem to remember. It's an odd coincidence, don't you think?
Yeah, it also sounds like the media is going back and finding anything that they can find, because this was like over 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So they're going around trying to, it also sounds like there's something else going on. But to me, on the outside, it looks like the New York Times and all these left-wing media, they're trying to find some way to divide, create some kind of derision. And then the way he acted.
For what derision? He's already said what he said. He's called President Trump the Antichrist. He's gone down and he's attacked him at the most basic level. And in some way, when he goes and talks to this reporter from the New York Times, it sounds like he's trying to walk back it in such a way by suggesting he doesn't necessarily remember that he said all these things in that fashion. But it's all recorded. We all know what he said and how he said it. Question is, does he accept what he said? Does he believe what he said? Was he being told what to say? Consider that. And he has a different opinion. You have to consider there's something else going on here. Let's put it this way. Dinesh D'Souza puts this out. The giveaway here is not Tucker's denial. He called Trump the Antichrist. It's his response when he's confronted with the video showing he did at that point. A normal and decent person would say, you got me. Well, I guess I did. Not Tucker. Now, I'm not going to play this because you just saw that. But here it is. Do you remember this time Tucker Carlson stole my footage, covered my logo, and used my likeness and gave me no attribution to defend Alan Dersh and his ridiculous claims that the government was? There was a period of time that crowdsource was suggesting that Tucker Carlson, like Benny Johnson and other people, would steal other people's stuff and put these things up there in his own name. Marshall, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there's something more to this, man, because I really don't see. And he didn't say that Trump was the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. He asked it. Is he the Antichrist? Is what he actually said.
It's how he said it. So, it's not what he said. And I think that the description of what it was, and they are fine tuning it in some way. But what Dinesh D'Souza is suggesting is that the implication and invocation of that is problematic in itself. Okay. And I think that's the point. Well, you got me. You should. He basically said Tucker couldn't even come to Jesus moment and say, all right, I fucked up. I admit it. I probably shouldn't have said it, but I did. I didn't mean to make this a comparison. Maybe other people did. He didn't walk it back as he should have walked it back. And the point is, that's the argument that Dinesh D'Souza is saying. Why didn't you when you were caught suggesting this in that manner? And again, this language, this rhetoric that keeps bubbling up all over the place is what is feeding the beast. Pardon the pun, but it's feeding the beast. It's increasing the vitriol. It's increasing the language, the vernacular, the linguistics, the intolerance. It's feeding all into this. So when you make suppositions, you make some type of, you posit this theory that he may be like, he is like, he's acting like, all right, what are you doing? You're setting up a path, a trajectory where people will take this in and say, my God, we got to stop it. We got to end it. And that is the point. But I was very surprised that the New York Times, excuse me, would put up that in some way, unless they wanted that as a reflection of the mirror to be thrown out there and say, hey, look, Tucker, you're saying this. So why is it okay that you could say this, but you have someone like James Comey, who's now been indicted, who's saying 86-47, and many other people? Why are they getting persecuted and prosecuted, and you're getting a pass? That is part of the, I think, the immovability theory. Okay, they're saying in some way he's getting a pass because of who he is in some way, where other people are not because they're insinuating something else. And which are the lesser two of evils? And I think that's what they're trying to suggest here, Marshall.
Yeah, it's first of all, I don't understand why the hell he let the New York Times even around him. That seems kind of odd right off the bat.
Right.
So for him to do that, that makes me feel like there's something in the works behind there. I don't know exactly because I haven't had much time to think about it, but there's something else going on. For him to allow the New York Times to interview him in his studio, it looked like it was his studio, I guess. But to me, it's there's just got to be there's something going on. I just don't. I don't believe what I see on its face value with this whole thing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So Chief Nerd puts this out. One thing that has bothered me for many years is the fact that a lot of people in Trump's immediate orbit have been really hurt, gone to prison, become unemployable, publicly shamed, gotten cancer. I mean, look at Rudy Giuliani and what happened to him. You know, they sued him over this $1 billion lawsuit of all the stuff from the 2020 stuff, all directly tied to what? All bullshit. Poor guy's in the hospital with pneumonia. Hope he gets better. Respiratory. I mean, they bled him dry. So you're trying to think, is Trump good or bad? And I thought this was an interesting because Rudy popped in my mind right away. But listen to this.
To the conversation is admitting when you are wrong. And I spent 10 years defending Trump on Fox News. I'd probably do it again because on the issues, I agree with him. I never defended a single thing I didn't believe. But at this point, the consequences of this decision are so bad for the United States and for my family and your family that like you just have to say it out loud. Like I'm a small reason. I don't think I moved a lot of votes, but I tried to. I told people this guy will keep us out of the next Iraq. Specifically, will keep us out of a regime change war with Iran. And here we are in the middle of a regime change war in Iran where hundreds of Americans have been wounded. Some number have been killed. They won't tell us. And that's just the opposite of what I said would happen. So I'm sorry.
So I hear you say that, but I am compelled to question it a little bit because are you simply just going public about something that you felt privately for some time? Because in 2021, through the Dominion lawsuit against Fox News, some of your texts went public.
Right.
And I'm just quoting from a couple of them. You know, you said there really isn't an upside to Trump. You said, I hate him passionately. I mean, clearly you had some feelings of reservation about the president.
Without question.
Before this time.
There's no doubt.
So I'm just trying to understand the...
You know, I have a lot of thoughts and theories about things which, you know, may or may not be rooted in reality. So I hesitate even to spring any of my theories on you because like they're probably insane. But one thing that has bothered me for many years is the fact that a lot of people in Trump's immediate orbit have been hurt and really hurt, you know, gone to prison, become unemployable, publicly shamed, gotten cancer. And I just am a believer in like big picture assessments of things. And you know, so you're trying to think like, is Trump good or bad? Like he's saying things I really agree with, but then people around him are getting hurt. Is the country actually getting better? I don't know. It's hard to know because to some extent your vision is obscured by the intensity of some of these debates. Mine is easily obscured by that intensity. But did I have reservations about Trump? Of course. And, you know, to some extent I sublimated them or rationalized them away or focused on areas where I agreed with him. All my fault. But I told myself, and I to some extent still believe, like it's the big decisions that matter. And I knew, because I know the Democratic leadership really well, that they're completely under the control of the same forces and that we would get a regime change war inevitably in Iran if they were elected. And so I told myself, Trump is the way to avoid the really bad thing.
Your thoughts, Marshall, on that? He made some interesting points. But again, is this a self-immolation ritual? Someone said that remember when he was attacked by a demon? or something in the middle of the night. Yeah, I remember that story. Thank you, Thea, for the 700 gold pills. I mean, I remember that. I mean, someone did say that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's part of this reasoning and rationale. He's gone down this in some way. But at one point, it seems that he has an act of contrition where he's showing regret. His regret for President Trump because of what happened with Iran and the regime change. And he can't come to some type of resolution. So what he does is he basically goes to the self-sacrificing, the self-immolation of himself, attacking President Trump, saying, look, he's better than the Democrats. But I knew the Democrats, if they got into power, they would be doing the same thing. So is this a better scenario for us now that Trump's doing it and not them? You know, and making these odd particulars that are out there in some way. Your thoughts? I mean, again, Tucker Carlson, you know, it sounds like a reverse Penance. And that's what I'm trying to say. He's talking to the New York Times, who's the most antithetical Trump hater out there. You know what I'm saying? They don't like, they print articles left and right. They are the lying fake news. They lie about everything. Okay. They upend his administration all the time with the fake articles. So for him to sit there and talk with them directly, who looks better coming out of this in some way?
Yeah, I can't. Right now, I just can't make heads or tails of it. And I don't think people should read too much into it right now because it's so, it's so fresh. But also, he's a podcaster. Okay, he's a TV guy or whatever. I wouldn't put so much weight onto it to where it drives you batty. I mean, he is who he is. He's just another one of these people, and it might be something. It might not be.
Right.
But I wouldn't sweat it. I mean, I would be like, okay, I like the guy, but I don't know why he's saying this.
His numbers are going up because of this, and the question is why. So Democrats are watching him. So New York Times is interviewing him. His numbers are going up. You got rhinos, and you got the Never MAGA or whatever. The anti-MAGA or whatever it is, whatever the group out there, Rhino Cucks, and then you have Democrats that are all supporting him. His numbers are going up bigger than they were on Fox News. So again, is this all some type of spiritual, ritual slaughter onto himself to throw himself onto the altar and say, yeah, I was all this and I regret it. I made a mistake. And who is he saying that to? Is he saying out to his newfound audience that are all clapping like seals? I mean, in some way, it's like he looks like a schmuck. He looks like a fool. All right.
Yeah.
And here's the bigger point. I'll show it to you. I know people in the White House, New York Times. Who? I don't know who. What? Listen to this. Is really doesn't make any sense.
This is well known, but I'll just confirm it.
Listen to this.
Nonstop treachery from people on the neoconservative side.
Who are these people?
Around Marco Rubio. And they have been totally against JD Vance from the very beginning.
Who do you mean specifically?
I don't know is the real answer. I don't know.
Accusing people of treachery, so I'm wondering.
Well, I know there's been a lot of treachery for sure. And I know they were so mad about JD getting that job. I mean,
who's they? Within the White House?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never worked there. So like, if you don't work there, you can say, you can say what you think but it's hard to really know.
This is me looking skeptical.
Yeah, well, no, but it's me being honest. Like, I don't really know.
So if you don't really know, why are you saying that? You've just heard innuendo and rumors. You've heard stuff from your son working for JD Vance. Now he no longer works there. So what are you theorizing? What are you postulating out there? You look like a fool. And the New York Times interviewer is saying, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm skeptical. He comes off sounding like batshit crazy. And so you're right, Truth. Aaron Tucker 2.0 acting like the original version. Very good. Very good. Very good indeed. Marshall, I don't know what to make of what he's saying, what he's trying to do. What is he trying to convince? Who is he trying to convince? Because he sounds so like out of sorts He's not making any sense. That number one. He's throwing out a lot of theories in some way. They're not really sticking. He's not proving his points. He only made one thing about, well, Trump was never going to take us to war in some way, but he's not even thinking through this. He's not thinking through this. He's not understanding what is taking place. He's also insinuating that we're lying about how many troops were killed, how many troops were injured from all the missiles that were shot out to the Middle East countries that we had bases in. How many troops in general were injured? I mean, he's insinuating that in some way. I don't know where he's going. Is he trying to say, hey, look, I can play ball on this dime with the New York Times and all these other people, or I can cut to the middle of this and say, look, this is the New York Times, this is me, and you know what? I'm not MAGA, and I probably never will be, or not anymore, or I never was to begin with. I'm walking this fine line, whatever that fine line is, to pretend you're something that you're not. I don't know. I don't know what was the purpose of all this.
Yeah, apparently, I didn't know that he had all these other problems with addiction and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
and I
alcohol.
see it in the chat.
Big time alcohol.
Yeah, so, and he's going to the White House drunk, and Trump mentioned it. So, he may be dealing with some other issues here.
Yeah.
The demons waking him up at night, that's a little, he may need, I don't know, he may need an intervention. Real quick about my sound. I cannot adjust my sound while the show's going because the volume I have on this is for me to hear Brett.
Yeah.
So my volume, I have
That's
to
fine.
go into the computer.
You're fine. Don't worry.
I moved it down. I moved the microphone down. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Brett.
you're fine. Okay. Don't worry about it. So yes, he's out of targets and stuff. Let's see. Thank you, Darla, for the can. It's all about money with these podcasters. Thank you, Thea. 700 gold pills, gift of the cookie, hog leg. Thank you for the can. May 17th, day of prayer. Beware of your surroundings. I have a feeling these demons will be on full display. Okay. I mean, here's Jake Tapper interviewing Jeanine Pirro on Sunday, bringing up Tucker again. So why is Tucker coming into the fold with a clip of Tucker Carlson suggesting Trump could be the Antichrist? That seems insinuating. So again, they're trying to say, why isn't Tucker being held to the same level, same standard as Jim Comey? Okay. Well, I didn't hear Tucker threaten President Trump's life, but the cross comparison analysis that they are trying to do in some way to muddy the waters is really, it's up here, and they're putting this up there. And this is the most ridiculous conversation I've ever seen.
So let me ask you a question. President Trump has now horribly been the target of 3 assassination attempts that we know of.
Right, that we know of, exactly.
There's obviously a lot of incendiary language out there, horrific language out there. I just quoted from some of it from the alleged shooter who didn't get that from nowhere. That's a lot of crazy people saying a lot of horrific things. I want to play Tucker Carlson, your former colleague at Fox, last month talking about the president.
Okay.
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows?
That seems incendiary too, no?
Look, the whatever Tucker Carlson says is not relevant to me right now. I really don't care about what he says.
She's not taking the bait.
All
Good
I
job.
care about are the facts, the evidence, and what I can prove. All of this other stuff is noise. What we've got is a president of the United States. He is literally being targeted. He is being hunted. And our job and the job of everyone in law enforcement is to protect that president. I don't care what people on the outside say. I disagree with them entirely. But what we cannot do, Jake, we cannot blame the victim. We cannot start saying...
Oh, I'm not blaming the victim.
Right. And I don't want other people to blame the victim either. And that's what this is about. This is about people who are so above and beyond their skis that they think that they can discuss all kinds of issues that have nothing to do with them and that are creating problems for people.
That's just, I mean, I'm glad she didn't take the bait, Marshall. I'm glad she didn't do it. You could see what they're trying to do. They're saying that, saying Trump's the Antichrist or trying to pull Tucker in this in some way. And she's saying, that's not what we're dealing with. That's not what we're talking about with James Comey. All right. We're talking about people making idle threats, threatening the president of the United States on many different levels. And we're talking directly to that. And Jake Tapper is trying to say, well, isn't suggesting that he's the Antichrist, Christ in some way, help ratcheting up this theater of conversation? What say you?
Well, there is another possibility, and that is money. I mean, you know, if he was offered enough money to change his little tune,
yeah,
that's a whole nother story. Every man has his price.
Right.
You know, when you get high enough, he could just say, fuck the damn podcast. I'll just go off into the sunset with. So, you know how money does funny things to people.
Yeah.
So if somebody offered him a ton of money,
yeah,
you know, game over. You know,
thank you.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, we still don't know where he's getting his money from. We know he has an inheritance. He's got money for. Remember, he was getting paid still from Fox News like $20 million a year for the last couple of years. I don't know if that contract is ended when they fired him, and that was about what 2 years ago. So we don't know if that contract ended because they paid him to make sure he would not go on another platform. And instead, he took that money and he's using that money to build his own network. And that's what he's doing. And he also has his own money as well. So we don't know where else the actual money that he's making through engagements, doing these shows and through sponsorships and what have you are also coming with. Yeah. So, I mean, that's something to consider.
Or it could be a threat.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, you hear
a
Larry
threat to
Loomer
him,
all the time.
his family.
Well, yeah, that's
I mean, you know,
right. I mean,
that'll really make you change your mind.
Right. So is he being forced to say this? That's what you're saying.
Well, I think it's just one of the possibilities, you know,
That he's
I have no idea.
in some way, that he's being forced because of his condition.
Well, that's a strong I mean, he's got little kids, right?
Right.
He's got,
well, no, he's got adult kids. He's got adult kids.
Oh,
they're all
grown.
adult.
Well,
They're in the
he's got a
20s.
wife.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I
don't know.
you know, who the hell knows, man? The whole thing, I'm kind of dumbfounded by it, but
yeah,
I
it
guess
doesn't
we'll
make
see
any
eventually.
sense, but you're right. If it's all about money, then there you go. Federal judge apologizes to Cole Allen. This was the White House correspondent shooter. Says it's wrong that he has no ability to get out of his cell for recreation. Yeah, let's just let him walk around in the yard. Why don't you open the gate for him? See if he can escape. Why don't you give him the key? Why don't you give him the hall pass key? Okay? Are you fucking kidding me? He's in fucking jail, okay, for the time being for trying to kill the president of the United States. But we're sorry that the actual amenities are not good for you. We're sorry that the amenities are problematic. It was up to this judge, Zia Farukwa. This is another reason this judge should not be apologize for the treatment he's received in jail. Are you fucking kidding me? The man attempted to kill the president. My God, it's almost embarrassing that this is the world we live in. And these people, if they were in control, again, they would let anybody and anybody out. DC judges are absolute joke. The man attempted to kill President Trump doesn't like his cell conditions. Well, boo-hoo. Boo-hoo. Tell him to go fuck himself. Yeah. You know what? I can tell you what, buddy. Do me a favor. Save everybody the money, all right, and Epstein yourself. How about that? If you don't like your conditions, all right, and he was on a suicide watch, let it happen. No one's going to fucking care. All right? Good riddance. But you hear this judge, it's almost embarrassing. They're watching this crap.
And at one point, the judge apologized to Cole Allen. Chief Washington correspondent Mike Emanuel is right outside the courthouse to answer why that possibly was. Mike?
Yes, Sandra, good afternoon to you. Judge Zia Farukwa apologized to suspect Cole Allen for the treatment he's received so far while he's been behind bars. He's been put on suicide watch by the Department of Corrections, and the judge was asking why. An attorney for the government said that he was put on suicide watch because he told FBI agents the night of the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
He takes a picture of himself. Did you see that with the guns, the weapons, the knives? What a fool. I mean, this whole thing, he was a prop. He was used as a prop. You could say that. He was used as a stooge to carry this out. And the Trump administration knew this was going to happen, okay? Allowed it to happen, allowed it to unfold in this way. to grab this guy. And now you're watching all this stuff and playing out. He's accused of trying to kill the president of the United States, shooting a federal officer, okay, transporting guns across state lines illegally, without a license. I mean, I don't understand why we're sitting here listening, but you have to see how crazy these people are.
Or attack that he didn't expect to survive, and his language suggested that he really was not expecting to survive his trip to Washington, D.C., and the ultimate incident where he allegedly showed up with a weapon to try and assassinate President Trump. He's been charged with that crime, but the judge very concerned about his constitutional rights, saying the defendant has requested a Bible, has requested meetings with his legal team, and that has not been allowed. He's been put in restrictive 24-hour lockup with no windows in a padded room without an opportunity to get out for recreation. And so the judge making it clear to the Department of Corrections that he wants answers by tomorrow morning about exactly what the housing determination will be made for the suspect in this case, out of grave concern about his constitutional rights, and that apology issued near the end of the hearing. And so quite a moment. Just
why is it that your constitutional rights become more important when you commit crimes than when you don't commit crimes? Can you explain to me that? Why are we worried about what? So we're going to make sure that this guy gets the trial so we can spend how much money? He's either going to hang himself or someone's going to kill him in jail. Or the deep state or whoever hired him will end him because they don't want him talking. You think he's going to get a deal? The other guy, remember the guy in the Ukrainian video that was at the Mar-a-Lago Trump golf course? He got life in prison. You see how he freaked out? What's going to happen with this guy? Well, if anything, he's probably going to get the same punishment. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying right now that we have to question the veracity of his living conditions, okay? I didn't see anybody questioning the veracity and the living conditions of the January 6th protesters that were incarcerated with no 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights. And you want to what? Sit there and say, let's play patty cake to make sure he's comfortable? Put him in a fucking straitjacket. If you're so worried that this guy is going to commit suicide, or he's in a padded cell, or someone might shank him by himself. Obviously, he's not going to be Epstein because he's in a jail cell by himself before he sits and goes to a prison after he's convicted. Oh, my God. We're worried about this guy's mental state. What? We got to make sure that he's comfortable to stand trial, and we got to make sure nothing's going to happen to him in jail. That's what we're focused on.
Yeah, the judges have got to go. I mean, I have had and everybody out here, I'm sure I've seen the chat. Everybody is sick and tired of these damn judges that are doing everything they can to subvert President Trump and his administration. And this is another one of them. The same type of shit. How the hell these got in there? I guess they're Obama and Biden judges and all that. There's got to be a way to get rid of these damn judges. Right. They don't deserve the time of day. They're giving comfort to the enemy. So that right there could be a way to do it. Right. But they've got to go, Brett. I mean, we cannot have these judges anymore.
No, I'm sick of it too. But you're seeing it right now that you have a judge more worried about this guy's, let's just say, state of affairs, sitting in prison for federal crimes, capital crimes, you could say, all right, for doing what he's done. And we're worried about his comfortability, his viability. My God, I didn't see anybody doing that for January 6th protesters that were sleeping naked in their feces, barely eating, people with cancer dying. So Todd Blanche confirms that the DOJ's criminal case against James Comey is not solely based on 8647. Lock him up. So obviously the career FBI agents, the career Secret Service agents that investigated this case didn't look away at the Instagram post and walk away. That's not what you saw in the indictment last week. So I'm not permitted to get into the details what's going on. Obviously, there is something going on regarding what?
Has indicted the former
information,
FBI
the data
director
on his phone.
for this Instagram post. I want to put it up. I think a lot of folks have seen it at this point. 8647 in Seychelles, which the indictment says, quote, a reasonable recipient who is familiar with the circumstances would interpret as a serious expression of an intent to do harm to the President of the United States. How does that image of Seychelles amount to a serious threat against the president's life?
Well, every case requires an investigation. And what you just showed is one part of that investigation. What you just showed is the Instagram post. Rest assured that the career assistant United States attorneys in North Carolina, the career FBI agents, the career Secret Service agents that investigated this case didn't just look at the Instagram post and walk away. That's why you saw an indictment last week, notwithstanding the fact that it was last May that the post was made. So I am not permitted to get into the details of what the grand jury heard or found, as you know, but rest assured that it's not just the Instagram post that leads somebody to.
It's what they found on his phone, his computer, his data. That's the bottom line. That's what you have to consider. So whatever the information that they found behind the scenes, that obviously they'll find out during discovery. They don't want to tip their hand. They don't want to let people know what is taking place. They don't want to let that cat out of the bag. It's beyond this. It's beyond bigger than we think. So when you're suggesting in some way that this insignificant little detail of putting Seychelles out that says, 86 is a restaurant term, basically, that it's what you dropped.
It means get rid of it.
Get
it
rid
means
of
it's
it.
gone.
Right.
It means it's gone.
Yeah, and when you think about that,
We're out of
we all know what it means. It's 86. It's done with. We're done with. I mean, look, the idea that we're just suggesting in some way that we're stupid enough that we can't process this in a matter, and then he's coming at this. We're talking years and years of stuff, of information that's behind the scenes. This wasn't just another bite at the apple against James Comey. They found more relevant information that was tied to this that I guess the grand jury saw and heard that he can't let out. And I think that's all connected to the data, the phone data, where it was sent. Was he talking to sleeper cells? Was he talking to groups that are ready to do their bidding? I mean, obviously, that's what we can assume, okay? But without any base set of facts that I could sit here and suggest it's this way or that way, I'm with you. I'm not dumbfounded, but I believe this time around, he's not walking, okay?
Yeah, 86. I worked in restaurants for many years, and 86 means it means that a dish has run out. We don't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. It's gone. Mm-hmm. So if that's what that means, and that means if you say 86 yourself, Brett, that basically means I'm telling you to kill yourself.
Right.
Get rid of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And you don't use that terminology. I mean, I've never heard 86 used other than in the restaurant hospitality industry. I've never heard it used outside of that.
The mafia uses it.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean,
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've never. It's not like a big thing. I'm going to 86 you.
No,
you don't say it. But the reference and the meaning is enough where people could pick it up, okay, and understand what the nomenclature is applied and how it's applied. I mean, everybody got it.
Tom Tillis made light of it.
Yeah, of course he did.
Who it was.
He's on his way out too from North Carolina. Yeah. He's on his way out too. Goodbye. So here's another death threat. We're getting into the death threats, the lawsuits, the promises, the threats, promises, lawsuits. Democrats arrested for death threats against Trump and Fetterman. So recently, this guy, Raymond Chandler, a Pennsylvania Democrat, Senate candidate, taken into custody by the FBI Pittsburgh, and the U.S. Secret Service confirmed that an affidavit filed in the U.S. District Court, Western District of Pennsylvania. Chandler left multiple voicemails for an unidentified member of Congress containing violent and explicit language. In one message, he allegedly described a scenario in which a mob would murder the lawmaker and their family, claiming such violence was justified because wealth concentration has gotten so bad in this country. This is how it's slipping away, getting out of control, okay? And yes, arresting these people is the only way to go. You have to. Who calls up somebody that's a lawmaker in Congress in this and threatens their family, and think that you're not going to have any retribution, retaliation? You're not going to have any reprisals backed by the law. You don't think they're going to come after you or try to sue you? I mean, honestly, I mean, these people are just so unhinged. They're not thinking this through. I always tell people, arm yourself, protect yourself, all right? And because the time will be right when it's necessary that you might have to be a what? Good Samaritan, a vigilante, all right? In order to save your fellow human being from what? These crazy people. I say that all the time. That's different. When you appoint and assign an actual death threat to a family, to the children, to a home, like this guy in a separate voicemail days later, he urged the lawmaker to assassinate the president. Here we go. I want to put the firearm to the president's head. See, I mean, again, this type of just obscene rhetoric has just gotten out of control. And yes, you have to arrest these people automatically. You can't let them go with just like a slap on the wrist. You can't just talk to them. You have to go after everybody. Now, whether it serves a purpose that, the finer point is that, hey, look, we're going to what? Enforce the laws. That's one thing. Or are people going to learn by it? No. There was a Southwest Air stewardess or flight attendant. I don't know what the proper language is. I think it's flight attendant that made this commentary. She deleted it on her post. Why aren't she being arrested for saying the same thing? 8647. You can't do that. Okay? Officials said lawmakers' office turned over numerous recordings to investigators. The man was running for U.S. Senate in 2028, who branded himself an online, nice, wholesome guy who wears suspenders, arrested for calling the assassination of the president. Man, totally unhinged. I mean, we live in a batshit crazy world. I don't know what to make of this in some way. It's embarrassing. It's sad. I'm just getting tired of it. I really am. Let me move on here. I'm running time. Here. Okay, here's another one. This is what I want to show you as part of the threats, and then I'll fast track it because we got about half an hour and I got to get through this. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, questions, or concerns. You can help us out over here on Pilled, Rumble, YouTube. buymeacoffee.com/wearerise, or you can help out Marshall. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. So a Michigan Democrat, Mallory McMorrow, compares Trump administration to Nazi Germany. Do you personally see parallels between Nazi Germany and what's happening under the Trump administration? Yeah, I do.
See parallels between Nazi Germany and what's happening under the Trump administration.
Yeah, I do. It is deeply concerning that we see an
This is a
authoritarian
Michigan
slide, and
Senate
as we talked
candidate.
about earlier, dividing people against each other.
And they're taking this rhetoric and making it more that he's a Nazi and he's going to kill you. He's going to put you in a concentration camp. When actually the term Nazi is a National Socialist. And it's being actually the actual talking point of what it is taken into a more of a negative connotation and spun and woven into something more, let's just say, ominous. And that's how this rhetoric is carried. Antichrist, Nazi, and then moving this white supremacist, all this stuff. Another candidate suggesting in some way we got to do something about it.
To convince people that if you're not doing well economically, it's somebody else's fault is an incredibly dangerous place for us to be in. I don't think that a lot of people would argue that there are shades of authoritarianism here that we need to be.
Authoritarianism. There you go. All these shades, all these little whispers that are basically, let's just say, nodes, guides, talking points to characterize the administration of President Trump as something of a demon, of a monster, someone of a Julius Caesar. And what happened to Julius Caesar? Again, that's how they're postulating this rhetoric. And it continues on. It doesn't stop. And I'm sick of it. I'm just so sick of how people are allowed to talk. And this is another candidate. She needs to get a visit. She needs to get a visit. Yes, she needs to get a visit. All right. And say, hey, look, you want to run for Senate? Watch your mouth. But see, there's a difference. You can have hate speech. You could be full of hate, full of rage. And I say it all the time. I'm all about protecting your First Amendment rights. But be careful how far you go down. Because once you make a threat, once you cross the line to say, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, that's when that line carries. And remember, it's a congressional law. You can't threaten the President of the United States. Take it up with Congress. Thank you, Thea, for the cookie. All right.
It was worse during COVID.
Right.
And Trump wasn't president.
Exactly.
They were the ones committing. They made people kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. Over an injection. And you're telling me he's an authoritarian?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to throw this into their fucking face. This is ridiculous. People
Right.
lost their livelihoods over this
Well,
shit.
it's the same thing with Charlottesville. Charlottesville, the whole thing was an SPLC op.
Yeah.
That they painted out as white supremacists that were doing all this nonsense. It was them. It was paid for. And they attacked Trump is like, because there were some good people there, he said. All right. And they took that out. See, he's a white supremacist. He's a Nazi. He's all that. Again, spinning and weaving the narrative into something that is hostile, that leads to certain people. And these people are contemptible and they're uncontrollable. They're violent. They'll lash out. And that's what we're seeing every day, all the time. In bars, also 86's bounce out troublemakers kicked them out of the club. Okay. Here we go. Plummet and means. We said this on Friday. Hear me out. Government does buy Spirit Airlines. Deport Airlines flies all of the illegal immigrants back to the country. Yeah. I said that yesterday. We need Friday. We need Elon Musk. There's all these Spirit X's all over the place. I don't know if it's happening, but we need someone to pick this thing up, not pick it apart like some type of crow or some type of bird, to pick it apart in some way, pieces of stuff. Let me just say this. Why am I onto this? Because, it's going to affect you and I. It's going to affect you and I, even though this organization, Spirit Airlines, 34 years in the making, was a garbage airline. It was mismanaged, poorly run. All right. The prices were too low, especially betting against how the markets were and not properly in raising the prices, inflating the prices properly with the increase of jet fuel. Let me say this. Here it is. And I think that we have to consider this because it was the Biden administration that made sure that JetBlue and Spirits crashed and burned. And here we are right now, and you're wondering why this is. And I think for people who fly that, which is a lot of minorities, that's why we call it minority airlines, getter airlines, they should look at it and understand, hey, it was the Democrats that did this. President Trump trying to fix it, but there was no way we can afford to pick this up. Now, when it hits 50 million, 25 million, do you know that, I think a lot of people don't know, that there's a 20, I think it was what they said, was it 27%? I believe that they only own 27% of the Airbuses.
Yeah, I heard they didn't own any of them.
Right. They owned 27% of the buses. It was Bank of America, Bank of Utah, all right, 27% of what they controlled. So they were in debt well over their head.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are not really looking at this. So JetBlue, greater than 75%. Think more Chapter 11s coming to airlines. Frontier, 45 to 50. Allegiant, American, 2.9% to 15%, less than 3%. This is the percentage base where you're going to have more airlines decouple, maybe break apart. Maybe you're going to need more of a unionization, more merging. Will President Trump allow that? Probably. I mean, JetBlue better find somebody. Now, JetBlue, could they come back in and try to purchase whatever's left over to absorb that? It's possible. I don't know if they have the capital to do it. But I think these percentages are overly scientific, especially since they don't quite appear representing the real market probabilities implied from bond yields and true spread implied numbers, and whether a distressed exchange is actual default. Still, as a ranking exercise, I will be looking at something reasonable for JetBlue and Frontier, and such a suggestion that American and Alaska probably are not looking at anything at sort as a greatest bankruptcy risk. So now we just saw Spirit and now JetBlue, and those two airlines needed to merge in order to save both themselves. But here we are now that another airline can go down the pipe. And so that means more increased fares, less travel for people, longer flights in some way. I was hearkened by the idea that I saw this because some people were questioning when King Charles left. Camilla, she took a commercial flight home. And I was trying to understand why she took a commercial flight home. Here it is. I'll put this up. Is this a Muse? Let me see. No, this is not it. I don't think I have it. I thought I had it. I thought I had it here. I don't know why it's not here. That's not there.
While you're pulling that, I want to add also to that this to me, all these bankruptcies that are going to be coming up with these airlines, all of this is a perfect example. Our whole system is shit. The terminals, the airports are crap. Our the whole airline industry in our country, from the airports to the terminals, all of that shit needs to be brought up to date. It's all dated, like an old kitchen.
Right. Well, I was going to try and find it anyway. So Camilla takes a commercial flight home, and King Charles goes to the Bahamas, Barbados, Bermuda, whatever. All right. He takes his private jet. So I was looking up and saying, why would the Queen, all right, de facto Queen of England, take a commercial flight? It wouldn't make any sense, right? But then I was reading this article, and maybe I didn't pull it, that she is deathly scared to fly, just like I am. And so I was looking up the International Air Transportation Association Safety Report. In 2025, commercial is vastly safer in 2025 globally. The global all-accident rate for one ATA Airlines is 1.32 accidents per million flights. That's 1 out of 760,000 flights. Whereas private, not private Learjets, private this, but that changes, is 10 to 60 times higher of an incident. Now, we're not talking Learjets and all these other things, but in some way, I find these numbers awfully skewed. So you're saying you'd rather fly on a commercial flight, which is quicker and faster. It's a direct flight to go from where you're going to England. Okay, 5-hour flight from DC to England. Okay. Then in order to go on a private Learjet, where she's scared to fly. You know, I thought that was interesting. And also, you're the Queen of England. Is she really? What Queen of England would ride a commercial flight? Have you seen Joe Biden and the Clintons ride commercial flights? Very odd indeed. Shows you the kind of power they don't have. But only King Charles took a private plane to Bermuda, or wherever the fuck he was at. All right. Breonna Morella puts this out. Never forget what Senator Elizabeth Warren took from us. This is funny. Oh, it's not playing.
Go suck another dirty dick. Don't play with me.
Look at that shit.
Do not play with me because I'm not the one nor the two.
Hey, stop it! Hey! Oh my God. Ooh. This is so fucking ghetto.
Oh, memories of ghetto airlines. So just keep that in mind. Noticing, did Senator Warren do us a favor? Well, did Trump administration do us a favor? Let it crash and burn. Let it go to Chapter 7, be liquidated, and let someone pick up like a crow
all the planes
that are left over. Okay? Because they only own 27% of that. And I'm sure the American government will pick up the pieces, and for a reason, maybe Homeland, and buy a fleet of these things for their deportation flights home. I mean, I'm hoping that maybe somebody, a billionaire, will come in here and try to take up these flights and do this. But I just, I'm kind of glad in some way that the administration didn't do this, because I have a problem with socializing this for a time. And I know there's a lot of people that felt that way too, Marshall.
I think it was a gesture on Trump's part.
Right.
He was just trying to play nicey nice because he knew if it went that immediately they would be dumping all over him.
Right.
So he tried to pretend like, I don't think he wanted to do it at all. I think he was just like, yeah, well, never wanted it to happen anyway, because he didn't want to be. I just think he just kind of like played it off like that. And I would love, Brett, for somebody like Elon Musk or somebody to buy an airline and not sell another cheap ghetto carnival price flight to go somewhere. I want to see something with the little beds and the individual like offices with luxury. I want to see that shit.
I'm not. Look, they're in Chapter 11 now. Okay, they haven't gone to Chapter 7, which is liquidation. So it depends on how the probate courts, how they all go through this in some way to assess the financials. If someone wanted to come in, swoop in, and buy a percentage of this, and how much it would take to take this controlling venture and turn it into something like, I see all the Spirit Acts and stuff, which I don't think that's going to happen. But look, I just think that the possibility is endless, and that there are enough people that want to do this. The question is, you have to get a new CEO. You have to have the more board members buy in, sell into this and stuff. Darla, gift of the can. People get unalived in private jets like scientists and whoever they want to crash and burn. Yeah, I'm not arguing that at all, too. But I had to look. I just find it odd. She's definitely scared to fly. And so I could sit and she'll see it's safer to fly on a commercial flight. And I was like, I thought that was odd, even though when you look at the statistics, it is safer, vastly safer in comparison to a private jet or a Learjet per se, which I thought was odd. But for comfortability, affordability, for some, there's no TSA, there's no chaos, no layovers, no, there's a lot more that private Learjets or private low-tier budget planes that fly out, whether business or what have you, are much more proficient that they supply, but they have less of a safety rating. Alphabet Omega Pill gifted the cookie. Thank you. Darlell gifted the can. Brett is rising on the occasion. Great job reporting tonight. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. That's nice to hear. Thank you. Thank you, Thea, for the cookie. All right, let's continue on. This is part of the threats, promises, and lawsuits of the show. I want to continue. So Candace Owens warns Laura Loomer may have blackmail material on President Trump. Now, Laura Loomer lost her lawsuit to Bill Maher. Bill Maher made a joke that somehow there was some type of hanky-panky on the plane, some whatever. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to be graphic, and I don't want to sign that visual. Anyway, the point being that lawsuit had failed. Bill Maher won that case. All right, he was making a comedic joke. So Owen claims the alleged leverage could stem from past relationship between Loomer and Trump on Air Force One 1 year ago. So she is now taking what Bill Maher said, okay, as a joke, pragmatically, and saying that there is actual proof and evidence. She's making that. She says Loomer will not stop until she gets exactly what she wants. And when she wants it, why did Trump concede to a lunatic? Okay, we'll get to that. I'm not going to play all
going
this.
on an unhinged racist rant, and then
But I got
she's able
something
to make
else.
a demand that the president of the United States issue a truth social supporting her mania. And it was a demand, I want to be clear, that I am told specifically that Susie Wiles was staunchly opposed to. Credit to Susie Wiles. That she came up against that and said this is a very bad idea. And yet Trump's team overall conceded. The question is why? That's a very important question. Why did Donald Trump concede to a lunatic? There has been, of course, a very long-standing rumor that it's because she has blackmail on him, a rumor that I'm reticent to believe, right? Because it's Laura Loomer. But it has something to do with her having relations, that she went on to Air Force One years ago, as we all knew, and then began telling people that she had relations with Donald Trump. Again, it's Laura Loomer. So don't just take it with a grain.
Okay, so she's putting out the rumor view, the innuendo that Laura Loomer had put out, that Bill Maher made fun of, that she lost the lawsuit to Bill Maher that supposedly that she had spread. And then now this wingnut says, hey, look, she's got blackmail, compromise on this, and now is using this against President Trump. Do you believe any of this? Number one. And number two, why rehash what's already been said when a lawsuit was already brought up that you can get caught up in the middle of it, especially if you're insinuating that she started it from the beginning. So here we are right now. The Times of India puts this out, and this is where they get into this. This gets really ugly. So I'll put this up there. So now these two are swinging hard because her husband got arrested in Tennessee, Candace Owens, with a firearm, whether he was drunk or not. And so she's throwing barbs left and right. They're throwing barbs at each other. You're going to be sued so hard, Laura Loomer says to Candace Owens, and a massive lawsuit escalating the Erica Kirk row. All right, the feud with the conservative media has gone legal, and Candace Owens is now facing high-profile lawsuit with stated speculation of the tragic death of Charlie Kirk has spiraled into a public feud between rival influencer Laura Loomer. The fight is no longer confined to social media sparring is now edging toward the courtroom, with reputations and money at the controversy concerns set of allegations about Erica Kirk and the events surrounding the 2025 shooting. Although a suspect has already been charged by the law enforcement, Candace Owens continues questioning the events, blah, blah, blah. I think people get that. But look, this whole thing is now the barbs that are throwing out. They're going at each other and saying, you're going to be sued. Laura Loomer saying she's going to sue her for suggesting that she had sexual relations with the president, that she actually had made a quip about. She spread the rumor. And that's what she's basically relegating to and saying, well, she's the one who put that out there, okay? Or talked about this, okay, in some nefarious way, or to suggest that that rumor was circulating around and that Bill Maher used it as a comedic joke to go against her. I don't know what to think about any of this stuff. I've heard multiple innuendos about this stuff, rumors, what have you, all right? Again, that's what they are. There's no factual proof. Do you believe President Trump would put himself in a compromising situation like that with Larry Loomer? I mean, in any way, do you believe that's even possible? I mean, that you have to fathom that. I mean, there's no evidence to suggest one way or another. And Bill Maher was sued by Laura Loomer for suggesting that sort of thing, that they had some type of thing. And it went nowhere, because it was looked upon as a joke. So are we to take it as a joke? Or is this just supposition, masking as rumor, masking as innuendo, masking as what? Someone just hoaxing you in some way? Or are they just forcing some type of sublime narrative that we're not seeing, and all this other stuff is really about one another and the infighting? I mean, I know it's annoying in some way, but this is how we don't get to the truth about anything, because we're focused on nonsensical things like this. That's what the influencer crowd is descended into. You could see how Tucker has crashed and burned. Laura Loomer is just threatening everybody. She's at her apex of lunacy. Candace Owens is just making so many assertions all over the place with not any evidence. It's just throwing shit at the wall and see if it sticks. All right? Look, I'm not an Erica Kirk fan. I'm not any of that stuff. But I can neither look at whatever Candace is saying, nor what Larry Loomer is saying, that you could say credibly that they're both on opposite sides of like ready to get a straitjacket. Seriously. Because some of the things that are being said or thrown out there are now just descending onto this. And I'm just saying, move aside. Please move aside. Please move aside for the people that are, let's just say, in this reality plane. We're not phasing in and out like some type of interdimensional being or demon. We want to focus here in the now. Can we get to the battles that need to be fought? Not all this other subterfuge, Marshall.
You're exactly right, Brett, and that's exactly what I think. I am so sick of these fucking people. All of them. I mean, I don't care if it's Candace Owens, Erica Kirk, Tucker Carlson. The influencer age is being destroyed, in my opinion. I think
eating their own. They're eating each other.
Yeah, they're and they deserve it. They're greedy little bastards, for one. They lie their ass off. They gotten too big for their britches, as we say in the South.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. They got too big for their damn britches. And now it's all coming. Their chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah.
And they
there's no doubt about it. When you
they
really
deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve. And look, they're eating their own. They're eating each other. They can't handle it. It's part of the Trump. I mean, I don't care what you say about Laura Loomer. Going out there and defending all this stuff, the shit that she says, okay, is absolutely batshit crazy. She's reached a psychotic breaking point where her threats are just off the chain. I don't care that she supports President Trump. I don't understand the causal connection, why she's there. She's obviously a Mossad agent. We understand that there are ties there. But I just put Candace Owens aside and say, close my ears. I don't even pay attention. All right. Because it just it goes right through me. But Laura Loomer's, her knives are so out. And when she goes right for you, she's going right for the jugular. And some of this stuff is really psychotic. I mean, it's really like you start to look in and like, have you seen the movie Dressed to Kill? 1980 classic, Michael Caine? That's what I'm talking about. Dressed to Kill. A psychiatrist who has a psychotic break, a mental break, dresses up as a woman, which we used to call transvestites, and kills people, especially her former clients or his former clients that are sexual deviants. Go watch that movie. It's a cult classic. You'll get it. So Midas Touch host drops wild conspiracy theory, again, suggesting Trump plans to use the ballroom to stage a military coup. So he wants to create the ballroom. And when the ballroom's ready, he's just going to stay down there. And he's not going to go anywhere. Okay? He's going to control everything from downstairs in the ballroom, in the bunker. And it doesn't matter if J.D. Vance becomes the next president or Marco Rubio. All right? He's going to control all of it. He's like, no. He's going to be the Oz. Listen to this shit.
There is a fear and opening the door for more redistricting across the country that could aid Republican efforts to control the House. And there is a scram going on in Louisiana to redraw maps, even just as we speak. Firstly, let me just ask you, how did you feel when this ruling came down? Were you expecting it?
So I was at the Supreme Court when the ruling dropped. There was actually another high-stakes case being heard yesterday. My heart dropped. Listen, maybe a little. We can have an open and fair dismantle the highest numbers of lynchings, and we have Life Synagogue massacre. He's always been such an outlier on the court. He's always been the lone voice of dissent. I can think about prior Supreme Court cases like
Clarence Thomas actually made quite as these weren't attended to. So why would it be different next time?
It is why our public officials, we need to support them. Our civil rights organizations that are stepping into the breach
and of quite a lot of law enforcement officers as well as the kind of overt racist, clearly never be used for balls. Do you worry, as some of us do, that there is a coup that is on its way and that, there is a panic? I mean, you could argue the Supreme Court ruling came because there is a panic and gas prices and a war are a good reason not to vote for Republicans. So they need to do something about that.
Yeah. And the growing, largely rogue ICE force.
Yes.
The bandits who are out there. Maybe. But, the Constitution makes clear that his time is coming to an end. And, I hope that the courts will hold on this, very, very base. This is a very simple provision of the Constitution that makes clear that he's got to go in 2 years and change.
But the Constitution also says he can't go to war without congressional approval.
Yeah.
And he walked all over that one.
And then there's that. Well, I hope the courts will hold on this.
I admire your optimism. And I think it's important. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but only realistic, because he does have form with this stuff. And he did encourage an uprising on January 6th. And he has pardoned pretty much everybody who was involved, who broke the law on that day, amongst a bunch of other curios. So this man is clearly not to be trusted. What the world is looking on. I mean, King Charles was just here on a kind of weird diplomatic visit, which gave me all sorts of feelings, I can assure you. But the world looks at the US as a different place to how it was just 2 years ago, in terms of trust.
That's a good thing.
And in terms of alliances.
That's a great thing.
How much damage do you think is being done globally because of what we're witnessing in out of Washington?
Extreme damage. And we model the worst conduct on a global stage right now. not in just how we value and treat our partnerships with other nations, but in the way that we have denigrated people in particular parts of the world, and how we've denigrated our own right here in the United States. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of capital, I think, to restore our standing in the world and to rebuild trust, which is why, again, I think no more feckless leaders and day one readiness is really what needs to guide how we think about this next chapter in American democracy. There's so much at stake with this midterm election season, and then the stakes couldn't be higher. When it comes to our next presidential election season.
Okay, enough of that. But you could see that how they're setting up the idea. He ain't leaving. He pardoned all the January 6 people. He's an authoritarian. He's doing all these things to rig the elections. That again, and they wonder why people see when you put out this rhetoric and you don't have a debate, you don't have a discussion. You're already setting people up to say, "Hey, look, that this next election they're rigging it." They're rigging it. No, it's becoming unrigged, all right? Through what? Through the racial boundaries and the lines that were being redrawn because you set this up against Whitey in 1965. And over the decades, what did you do? All right? You align this and set this up. You didn't give anybody an opportunity to vote for, all right, especially in heavily black districts, to give them a choice. So what you did was you became what? Plantation owners. And so you kept people on the reservations and not dipping out by saying, hey, look, this is your choice, love it or leave it. And unfortunately, you know what? Now that that's moving off, you hear this mantra, you hear this narrative over again on how they're saying he ain't going. He's going to go inside the bunker in the ballroom. All right. He's going to pick the next president. All right. But he's going to be the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes. He's going to control everything. All right. And we don't need a feckless leader like Biden wasn't. I mean, the idea that these people can support what we just went through with 4 years. And that's the idea. All these crazy influencers who have cut tail, have turned tail, all right, who flip, okay, who were all for President Trump, all of a sudden now, they forgot what we just went through. They forgot. They forgot COVID. Their short-term memory, they got nothing. You know, those are the people who are going to have a fucking chip in their head. Yeah, because they're susceptible to anything. They are. They will believe anything. And so now the narrative is like, how much more money I can get paid to tell you something that is completely false. But yet we have to swallow it on a daily basis and compete with these people because these people have bigger platforms. There's, millions of people watching them and money's at stake. Well, I'm not selling my soul for anything. Fuck them die, let them eat their own. And I'm sick of all of them. And I'm watching this thing go. I think the problem that we're having right now is digesting what is taking place with the Iran conflict. I think so. And it's moving into some type of position that we're trying to, let's just say, relegate into its normalcy that we can what? Swallow and move the fuck on. As Scott Bessent said, we have to rectify, all right, the transit operation, whether it's through Hormuz or not, and the operation global energy, okay, that has to be what? Afforded the luxury of not being, in some way blackmailed, controlled, bribed in some way. So if you want to pass through the strait, you don't have to pay a toll like fucking Hades. And I think ultimately that's what we're doing. We're resettling everything in some way. You see how that English prick says, it was very odd how King Charles came to America to have this amazing thing. See, he doesn't want to recognize the fact is that the king has now what? Surrendered. And the point is it's checkmate and it's over. And see, he doesn't want to say that. So they've got to say all these other crazy conspiracy stuff to make it sound like, oh my God, everything is up in the air and this is what's going to happen in the next couple of months, Marshall.
Yeah, everything that she was saying there is disgusting. And what they have done, they have used the weakest, the easiest path to resistance, which is the black population. And they have used them for their Marxist ideology for a couple dollars. Yep. And they will sell out in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And she is a perfect example of that. right there with
Yeah,
their
I mean-
painted on eyelashes. I
Mhm.
mean, give me a break.
Yeah, I know,
It's
I know.
disgusting everything she said, Brett.
Well, of course. I mean, they have to toe the line, toe the narrative. And just like Wasserman Schultz and Clyburn in South
Exactly.
Carolina, we don't know if Clyburn is going to get kicked out because right now, McMaster's saying they're still up in the air if they're going to redraw the lines. Well, time's a ticking, buddy. All right. And if you want to best move this forward, that would be one guy to get rid of in that one black district where he controls everything. Darla, gift to the can, Trump 2028, need 4 more years. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be, I think that after this year, between 27, 28, and 29, everything and anything is possible. Everything and anything that you'll see is possible. Oh, I think so too.
Trump did say today during his speech, in 8
I'm
years
gonna
from
get
now,
8 to 9 more years. I
Yeah,
might stay. I'm like, when I'm out of here, 8 to 9 more years, which equals 17. I got it. So Dan Scavino, moments behind the scenes. This weekend. Our great Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, he has a wedding, and here in action tonight at the family wedding, he's a DJ. This was fucking hilarious. What I'm saying, this is the Secretary of the United States, Secretary of State, okay? And he's DJing at a family wedding. You see what I'm saying? Have you ever seen anything like this in the history of your life of watching past and former administrations ever? I know this is a family wedding. It's a private event. Who's taking the picture here? A lot of young people here. I just thought that was, look at this again. Okay, Marco, this is not the Miami clubs in the 90s with the bubbles.
yeah, the gay, yeah, oh yeah. He did attend those.
I know he did attend those. I mean, what?
A little bit on
the clubs. What was that one club off of Collins and 23rd? It wasn't a gay club. It was back in a Groove Jet. There was a club in Miami in the 90s, 23rd and Collins. And if you look at it, that's like 93, 94. And that was like when you watch where Miami Vice filmed a lot of stuff over in that area that was renovated back in the 80s. And there was a club called Groove Jet. It was one of the hardest clubs to get into. And you'd stand outside waiting. And they play all the music and stuff. And it was private party until like 12, 1 o'clock, meaning they wouldn't let guys in there. It was all females. So they wanted to pack the club in with all females. And it was an interesting thing. That was one of the best clubs out there because it was a hole in the wall. You couldn't get in. It wasn't one of these bubble gum, bubble bath. I'm not going to get into it. You wanted to avoid those. You wanted to avoid those like anything. I think Prince had a club too.
I used to go to the Tropicala that had all the Brazilian women in there.
Oh yeah,
dancing on top of the bar and all that.
Yeah, what was the?
That was in the 80s when I was.
What was the theater? The Cameo Theater. Great. It was an old theater. It goes back to like the 60s. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was featured in Miami Vice. It was featured in a lot of movies. Cameo Theater. I don't think it's there anymore. I saw a lot of great acts there, but that's 90s Miami, which is different from today.
80s was even better, man.
I don't.
Man.
If you weren't going to get shot by a bullet, I'm saying in some way.
Well,
you would stay in
86
Fort
is when I
Lauderdale.
was-
You would stay in Fort Lauderdale in the 80s. I know.
Well, I would
was at the
drive
end.
down and go to the.
Yeah.
It was
Alton
still
Road.
great, man.
Alton Road. All right. One last thing, and then we'll get out of here because I know he's like, I don't want to hold everybody. Yeah, this is funny. All right. So listen, I saw this on the Blaze put this out. I'm like, all right. Remember Sandra Levy in 1997? All right. Well, she had an affair with a congressman. Apparently, Condit, and he resigned. So was Shonda Levy's murder a UFO cover-up 25 years later? Our parents wants answers. The case dates back to 2001. Shonda Levy, an intern, Federal Bureau of Prisons in Washington, D.C., mysteriously disappeared. The scandal was that Levy's body was discovered 3 weeks later. Gary Condit, Democrat who represented California's 18th district, had a relationship with her. And she went missing in the park just a few miles. I remember this story. This was big story. Authorities found her skeletal remains while the coroner determined that there was enough evidence to declare a homicide to the location. A few days later, the death, Levy's father, Robert, told police that his daughter was in a romantic relationship with Condit. And he was cleared. He was cleared. He didn't do anything to her. Years later, authorities charged Ingmar Guanalik, an illegal immigrant, what a shocker, who attacked other women in the Rock Creek Park around the same time with Levy's murder. In 2010, conviction that was later vacated, leaving elements of the case unresolved. So his conviction was vacated because they found new evidence. So now Levy's parents, Susan and Robert Levy, maintain that their daughter's connection to Condit is what may have resulted in her death. In an interview, News Nation, the couple pointed out to a UFO conference held by Stephen Greer in D.C. 8 days after Chandra went missing. The conference was seen as a landmark event as it featured 20 witnesses from military, government, and intelligent backgrounds. I remember this event because I watched it. At the time, Chandra mentioned something that she knew about UFOs, and Congressman Condit was on the committee to learn more about UFOs. Listen to this.
Chandra and what we're seeing now?
You never know.
There certainly could be. We're not saying that's what it is, but it all sort of fits together.
Let me ask you this. Are you hoping that as this is getting a lot of attention and they're investigating this, that this will provide renewed interest or somehow have a connection into Chandra's case? Are you trying to communicate with the people investigating this?
No, you are the first person that we've really gone to speak publicly about this. I've been told that not to touch the subject.
Not to touch it, like
but
Danny Sheehan, who Stephen Greer's former lawyer, told us not to get too involved with it because certain element of the CIA is getting rid of people who might be too involved with it.
There are a lot of people right now that are afraid. And they are people who have spent a lot of time in government work.
A lot of people are threatened, such as Tim Burchett, the congressman who's really interested in that. Tim Burchett has been told a lot of things, and he's sort of fearful of something happening to him.
So there's a lot involved.
Just to be clear, aside from the timing of what you just mentioned in terms of what happened with Chandra and the different and what was happening with the UFO community, is there any other evidence, anything else you can share with us about why you believe there might be this connection?
I don't know. It's something that I thought of 2-3 years ago. I was at Contact the Desert, and I felt a strong...
All right, so she went... So obviously, they follow the ufology stuff. They're all into that. They were at the Contact the Desert. In some way, they're suggesting that their daughter, Sandra Levy, was murdered, having to do with the connection with Bill Condit, who was on this UFO committee, Congressman Condit, because of her relationship. And in some way, see, dead vanishing in NASA, JPL, Los Alamos, what have you. But the guy, Ingmar Guandanik, a legal immigrant, his case was vacated because of new evidence. So the question is, why is it unresolved in such a manner? Does it directly tie to him in some way? Thank you, Thea, for the 300 gold pills. Yes, I remember this also. But they're bringing up Tim Burchett. They're bringing up everything that's current today. And they're saying that someone murdered her because she knew too much because of the congressman that she was sleeping with. Now, do you buy that? Now, listen to the rest of this.
Intuitive thing coming from me that there's a possibility there may be a connection. We don't know what really goes on in the government. So many of us don't know the truth about many things. And as you know, the fuel situation and people who are controlling the politics of the world, they're not always given the truth.
Yeah, and I know President Trump wants to reveal it, but he's got to be careful because, what happened to Kennedy and what happened to all these other people.
See, who put this in their head to do this? Are they just throwing this out there? Are they really making an assertion in some way to say that her sexual relationship with the former congressman that sat on a committee dealing with UFOs around the time in 2001 that, was it Shahir and Dr. Greer had this whole conference in DC in 2001. I remember watching it. Many people saw it. It was a big thing. It was a big breakthrough And they talked about disclosure and all this other stuff. And now they're saying right now, we have to be very careful in some way. But I want to know who filled their head to suggest that she, in some way, indirectly got caught up in this, and she was automatically targeted for what did she know? I mean, was she just a casualty of the situation, and they had to dispatch with whatever information that let's just say the pillow talk went, or documents or anything that she saw? We don't know what Bill Condon saw. I haven't heard any. I don't know if he's still alive. I haven't heard any retort from him. But this is interesting that this is coming up, and I'm just curious to understand where this is going.
And I'm stepping on a limb. I'm asking disclosure. Someone knows the truth of what happened to my daughter, our daughter, Chandra, and what has happened to a lot of other people that have disappeared, gone missing, that have demise in mysterious ways.
I want to take it back for a second. And it was something in the earlier clip we were showing of the press conference. We're showing these photos. I think a lot of times it gets lost. Who was Chandra, right? Like after all these years, I know you still think about her, and it's, of course you're going to be thinking about her. Who was she? What was she like as a person? What do you want people to remember about her all these years later? Because she's not just a statistic. She's not just victim A. Who was she?
That's right. She had high moral standings, and she really did believe in the government and believed in constant.
Well, I don't know how much moral standing you have if you're sleeping with a congressman who was married. So the mother is basically saying, well, she's a great moral character. Okay, well, she was young. She was having a sexual relationship with a sitting congressman who was married. Thank you, Wood USA, for the 717 gold pills. Need more gold pill love supreme. I already dropped the actual gold pills out there. Let's continue on. So I'm trying to understand what is the basis and relevance of this discussion.
Institution, and believed in politics the way it's supposed to be. Our country has gone to a lower moral ground, and I think she would have a lot to say if she was here now. And so I'm her voice, and I think she would be very unhappy of what's happening, the division in our country, and the value of lives are in jeopardy, as well as people having a struggle to make a living and find new jobs and bring home, if you want to.
So you're talking to her Democrat, let's just say, talking narrative. Bill Condon was a Democrat congressman from California. So you're basically saying, well, her ethics, her politic, so to speak, she would be much more fervent. Would she be out in the streets? I mean, what are you trying to say, lady? I mean, what are you trying to say about your daughter? Why are you bringing your daughter back into this fold? I'm still trying to get this picture. I mean, I'm saddened that she's dead. Okay, what happened to her is terrible. I remember this whole thing. But the question still remains, who killed her? But, I mean, this is a little out there to suggest that she crossed paths with some type of entity or group because of pillow talk and maybe documentation that she saw that we can't allow. Let's continue.
Say food and income for their home and to feel safe community.
Yeah, it's important.
She's interested in that.
And she is. Sometimes we get little signs and messages from her, we believe anyway. But certainly the whole universe it's all consciousness, it's all spiritual. So there's God in charge of everything. You know, if you want to say it's Yeshua HaMashiach, that's perfectly right. But God is in charge of everything of the universe. So we have to keep that in mind.
Well, listen.
And we have to stand up for what we believe is high morality and grounds of peace in this nation and around the world.
Well, listen, first of all.
That's my voice.
No, I hear you. And Susan, Robert, I know it's not easy coming on and talking about this ever. I know it's not easy, particularly talking about what happened here 25 years later, but I appreciate you coming on. I'm thinking of you during all this. I'm wishing you both the best and best wishes as you navigate this. And I always hope that you get some sort of answers moving forward. And I'm glad that you were able to give a little bit more about who Chandra was. So thank you so much.
And thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate
hope
it.
that there's disclosure for lots of things, the truth, and for everybody in this world.
So, did they come on there, Marshall, to talk about the disclosure project or disclosure movement? Because obviously they've had contact with many people from Greer and was it Dan Shahir, who also had connections to the Vatican. I mean, he was a lawyer for Greer. I mean, he was part of that movement in 2001 in the in the Disclosure Project or Disclosure Movement in 2001. I mean, what was the? I'm trying to understand and try to put this in. Was this about their daughter and just throwing her daughter out there as saying, well, someone had put that in her ear and you need to go out there and talk about that? Yeah, Greer's deep state. Yeah, I think so too. I don't trust them either. I noticed that. There are other ufologists who don't follow Greer, who don't. Yeah, I know. And when I look at that, Richard Dolan, I don't think he's a big supporter of him completely. I haven't heard anything about him lately. But what's your thoughts about this, Marshall? This is a very odd, impromptu thing to throw out. I know you're hurting your daughter's death. I mean, I can't imagine. But to say that and to point to that, someone had to put that in their head that she was caught up with something because of her relationship with Bill Condon, and then that got her killed. And it wasn't this other guy, illegal immigrant, Oh yeah, it wasn't a legal immigrant. They don't kill people. So it was the deep state, or it was some government contracting agency. It was JPL. Same people that I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where the case is. Have they reopened the case? I thought the guy got convicted and then the case was vacated because the evidence was whatever.
Well, I mean, for her, the mother there, to sit there and talk about trusting the government and all this other crap, last name doesn't help me.
Mm-hmm.
And then this whole thing, she's talking about morality and whatever it was she was saying. None of that hits home with me. I mean, It tells me a lot about the character of this family. Mm-hmm. But when we get to the alien part of it, I would say there's gatekeepers, obviously, because this isn't the only case that we've talked about, Brett.
No.
There are gatekeepers out there that do not want us to know. Trump is trying to get there, it seems like. And aliens is really kind of a cliche phrase. I wouldn't say aliens. I would just say things that they're not letting us know.
Yeah.
They don't want to let us know what is really going on.
But
what has been
so
going
what did the question, you need to bring it back to a based question. I mean, you have to say, what did Sandra Levy get caught up in that her relationship with the former congressman from California, Bill Condon, passed to her, have conversations with, pillow talk? What was she, as his liaison or a staffer or what have you, what did she glean from all this stuff? I mean, and how would they know that in some way? Unless they were bugging him, they were blackmailing him because he was what? And he was having an affair with a staffer. That's not a shocker either. But when she disappeared and everything pointed to him and then he resigned, and then it found out that it wasn't him, that's when everything changed. But I don't know. I mean, I just, the grieving mother, and it just sounded like they're tying in one thing with another. I mean, is there any evidence to suggest that Sandra Levy was murdered like these missing scientists and contractors because of what they know? I mean, that's a big stretch to suggest that. Maybe you should ask Bill Condon what he knew. I guarantee he's not saying anything. You know what I'm saying? If he was smart, he would keep his mouth shut.
I think these people are playing along with the game that they've been told to play with.
That have been dealt with.
Because the daughter got wrapped up in all this.
Yeah.
She was just there, and then, bing, she got wrapped up into it, knew too much, bam. But I think the core of the whole thing is they don't want to, whoever they are, all right, they don't want to let us know what the truth is.
Yeah.
As the old X-Files thing, the truth is out there, right? Well, it is, but they're trying to prevent us.
Well, the truth is
and
what
that
I say it
includes-
is.
Right. And like what you said many times, free energy, all of this other shit.
Yeah, it's
But they don't want us to have any of that shit. Medical, all the
Yeah, but I'm still trying
technology.
to figure out who put in the mother's head that her
Yeah,
daughter, I mean, someone had put her
yeah.
daughter, placed the daughter subconsciously in her head that she, in some way, I don't know. All right, that's enough. I mean, that's the end of the show. I don't want to get in
I
any more
want
trouble.
to add one thing for the Florida peeps.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night at 5:00 is the Florida gubernatorial forum or debate.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get it on NBC or just go online and just look it up. But it's tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Okay, that's our show. We went over. I just was fascinated with that Blaze article.
Yeah,
because I'm still questioning, and I'm going to look up more stuff about that. I'm still just questioning the veracity of understanding how that scenario just came into play, and that's just a new twist on everything. Because I remember that story like it was yesterday, and boy, did that story have problems.
It was
that
huge.
story. It was massive. It had massive problems. A congressman with a staffer that's missing, and then she turned up dead, skeletal Marines 3 weeks later. It was a big story. Big story. All right, that's our show for tonight. We will return on Wednesday. Have a great night. Be well, be safe, be smart. Ciao, Bella. Thank you for supporting the platform and being here. Peace out.
Good night.